It is the rhythm of the city, 94.3 WYBC. I am Wanda Coppage. Happy to be back here with you on another Sunday with another great conversation. I know this young lady personally, so it makes me so happy to sit down and speak with her. Her name, you probably know her, is Tina Bennett. She is the Chief Experience Officer over at Yale New Haven Health, but she has so much going on, so much. And I got a chance to chat with her just a bit a couple of weekends ago over at Black Wall Street downtown. And we got to chopping it up. And we landed on we need to have you on the show because her story is one of success, resilience. And yes, I had the pleasure of going to high school with her. So, yes. Hi, Tina.
Hi, Wanda, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for agreeing to be here with me. In school, it was Tina Washington. She is married. She has two children. And as I mentioned, she is doing her thing. Chief Experience Officer, Yale New Haven Health. So let's get into all of the things. First and foremost, the Chief Experience Officer. Break that down for us. What is that position?
So, this position is like a hospital administrator executive. I am responsible for the patient experience. So, that is patient satisfaction. That is multiple departments that are under patient experience, like spiritual care, language services, volunteer services, patient relations. These are all departments that impact the patient experience across our entire system. So, we have hospitals that are on the border of New York, Greenwich, all the way to Westerly, Rhode Island. So including New Haven. So all of our hospitals are, included in our health system. And so my job is to ensure that we are providing a world-class experience throughout that entire system. So the goal
Nice.
is what you do at Greenwich, you want to do all the way at Rhode Island because there's certain things that we want to make sure our patients experience no matter what door they walk into.
When did you walk through the doors of Yale as a whole? I know that I don't know how long you've been in this position, but we'll get to that. How long have you been with Yale?
So I've been with Yale for next month will be 18 years.
Wow.
Yes. So I came into Yale in a management position, an entry level management position. So I was a supervisor.
Okay.
And I came in casual. I had left my benefits and things that I was at another smaller facility for like 8 years before coming to Yale. And I had gone back for my master's, and I knew like I needed to be in a bigger place. The place I was in just wasn't big enough for me because I knew I was going to want to grow. So I'm like, I got to get into Yale. And so that's what I set out to do. Got in, but it was like, you got to get in the best way you can, right? And so even that was a decision where it was, I would talk to people like, I'm leaving my benefits, I'm going into Yale as a per diem. And I had to just have faith and
Yeah.
step out there and say it's going to work out because that was scary. But it was the best move I've ever made. Here I am 18 years later. I came in as a casual supervisor and was only casual for a year. It took only a year to become permanent. And then after that, the rest is history. I was able to move throughout different departments and really build my career to what it is today. And so everything I did within those 18 years led up to being the leader of patient experience because I was like the supervisor of food and nutrition, then I was a manager in environmental services, and then I had community outreach programs. Like I was able
Wow.
to, as a director a couple years ago, I was the director of the school-based health centers. Like Hill House had that school-based health centers when we were there,
Hmm.
and I was able to oversee that. Those are programs, there's like 8 programs across the state that belong to Yale New Haven. They're like little satellite primary care centers, sort of.
Yeah.
And it helps students get back to class and not have to leave if they don't have a primary care doctor or if they need birth control. Like,
Hmm.
so it was like full circle for me because I was I was a member of that school-based health center in Hill House because primary care, right, just wasn't a priority. Like we were into
Exactly.
quick walk-ins type of thing. So I used to be a patient in it. Um, but then also back then there was a teen AIDS awareness program, and we would have to go out and teach that. So it was really nice to get to lead that. So I was able to be over the APPs and the providers that run these programs, that
Nice.
I benefited from the community.
You said you knew you wanted something and needed something bigger, and I feel like that's so well suited for your personality. You've always had a big personality, and as you mentioned, we went to Hill House together. Always in a leadership role, from what I remember of you, always a leader. So obviously, the outcome is going to be you're going to land somewhere where you're doing exactly what you're doing. You are leading in a position that is helping others, and it's also the grandeur that you need because of your personality. Now, you're from New Haven,
Yes, New
born and
Haven, born
raised.
and raised. Yes,
Okay. Tell me about growing up here in New Haven for you. Are you an only child, Tina?
I am not. So
Okay.
I am the youngest. So I came 18 years after my brother and sister. So
Wow.
my brother and sister were technically old enough to be my parents, right? So then here I am. And so it was very much like being an only child because they were out of the house
Grown.
as I
Yeah.
was growing up. And so that really helped create a bond with my mom. My mom was a
Uh-oh.
single parent. My dad died when I was 4. So it was just mainly she and I. And so I think having her, dedicated attention and all those things really helped develop me, give me the confidence that I needed because I was the priority, right?
Right.
And again, it was later in her life, right? So it's 18 years after she had done it. Now she's older, she's settled, and so she and I have a very strong relationship till this day. Um, but so growing up in New Haven, I was aware that, I grew up in the inner city.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't, I felt great about life, right? Because of that time and attention that I had with my mom. And, she would do things with me that it wouldn't necessarily be the things I'm able to do today, like put my kids on a flight and we take trips, like those kind of passport trips. But she
Right.
would get on a train and we would go to a museum or go to Bridgeport and just to get out. And so I really had a really nice childhood, but I went to the inner city schools. I went to Lincoln Bassett. I went to Betsy Ross and Hill House. And so what I say to people all the time though is like what you do with these things, what you do with
Yes.
these situations. And so yeah, I was surrounded by negativity, but didn't know that because of we were in this bubble. And so I didn't know that we might be considered poor, like I didn't know that. Like I felt
I
good.
can't tell. That's good though. And I like how you said your mom exposure. Exposure is so important when you are grown, no matter where you grow up. You have to, if you, this is all you see, then this is all you know. You're not even aware that there is so much more that's available to you if you are exposed to it. And your mom started early, taking you to different places, exposing you to different things.
Yes, to Stetson Library. We will walk down to Stetson Library on Dixwell, across the street from the Q House, and I would get books out of that library. So it was little things that she did with me, I think, that really, motivated me and helped me, be the person I am today. It was just those little things. It wasn't big things. We didn't have a lot of money. I will say that I feel like sometimes I'm like, I don't even know how she did it,
Yeah.
because like, how did you? Like, I had everything I needed, all those things. And so I think I also was able to learn resilience, from her as well, because she knew how to make it work, however it was. The other thing that I learned from her in my upbringing was the importance of consistency. And
Mm,
so, like, she's still in the same place she was. She's been there my whole entire life. That those things also helped me as I built my life and my career to understand that too, to have that stable environment for my family, for my children.
right. And talk to me about relationships, even as a child in your youth, choosing the people that you choose to surround yourself with growing up here.
That is a really, really great question. I think that is definitely a challenge when you're growing up in the inner city. It is so easy to be influenced by your
Mhm.
surroundings. I have to say again, I credit that to my mom. My mom was very much, I was at a family reunion a couple weeks ago, and a cousin was like, "You were sheltered," and I was like, "You think so?" Like, I wouldn't call it sheltered, but my mom was a little protective and very
Mhm.
choosy about where I was gonna go. Not strict at all, but just very selective about who I
Mhm.
spent time with outside of school and things like that. And so then I'll be honest, I think, in elementary school, I think I realized, like, okay, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to be friends with everybody because they may not, I may not be their cup of tea or whatever
Right.
that is. And so I think that's where I started to develop the confidence to do what feels right to you. Wear
Mm.
what you want to wear, be who you want to be, and then I would always have a good one or two friends, right? Like, so I still have the same group of friends to this day, where it's like, again, you have that consistency, the people who know who you are. You don't really have to deal with the trust things and trust
Yeah.
issues and things like that. But who you surround yourself with. So you said it, it's just extremely important because things happen when you're around people. Now, again, we're children. So when we were
Mhm.
growing up, you're going to have people who do things that you may not have done. But I think that's also the power of friendship to say, hey, girl, you sure you want to do that? Or you sure you want to go there? So I've always tried to keep relationships that allow me to be that person. Because I'm
Yeah.
that person, like, if you're not comfortable with me telling you that that probably ain't right to
The
do, because
best
I want you
choice.
to do that to me. I want you
Right.
to say that's probably not the move. And so because I value that in my relationships, like, I want to surround myself with people who make me better, who's going
Yes.
to inspire me to be everything that I may not even know I need to be. Like, that's
Yeah.
what, you know what I mean? So till this day, that is always a struggle, right? Because you kind of go, a lot of times you tend to stay in relationships that are comfortable,
Yes,
that are
because of the longevity, the history.
exactly. But
Mhm.
are these people really helping you grow?
Right.
Are these people fulfilling you? Can they fill your cup up, or are you filling it up? Because I've done a lot of that too, where it's like I'm pouring out into others, but who's pouring into me?
Come on, Tina. You sound like you about to give us a word. We just need a scripture.
No, it's true though. It's true
Yeah.
because otherwise you end up on E. You're empty from giving
Yes.
and giving, and that's important. Like, that's what I gravitate towards being the person who gives. I'm giving advice. I'm telling you how you probably should do this, but I think it's also important for us to be aware of our own wellness,
Yeah.
our own energy. What you surround yourself with. You got to be very cautious
And it
and
starts
deliberate.
with just being aware of who you are. It starts with you. Be honest with yourself. Be true to yourself. If you find that you are around people, and not just, your personal relationships, professionally, in the jobs that you choose, where you are not able to come in as you are and bring what you bring, that's probably not the best fit for you. I tell you, there are some adults that struggle with that, and you picked it up very early. So kudos to you and kudos to your mom for instilling that in you. I want to know, because over 20 years management, you're in healthcare, but that was not the initial goal for Tina. What did Tina want to be when Tina grew up?
Tina wanted to be a news anchor woman. That was always what it was. Like, it had never changed. I wanted to be on TV delivering you, maybe not the weather, but some sort of news. And so that's what I went to school for. So I ended up staying in state. I went to Southern. I had to. So when all my friends, were filling out their applications and they're able to go away, I had to be realistic about my situation. I got a single
Nice.
mother. Like, so it was like, all right. So I applied to a couple schools, but I knew, like, if I stay here, I will be financially stable.
Mm.
I could keep my job, my high school job could be my college job, and I'll be okay. So what I ended up doing was, all right, how can I have the college experience? So I lived on campus at Southern.
Okay.
That way I still felt like I was away. You got to meet all the people who lived there from,
Different
throughout the
places.
state in different
Mm-hmm.
places. But then I was close enough to get a home cooked meal when I was hungry, or bring my dirty clothes or home for laundry, whatever that was, but also to work. And so that's what I had to do for me. And I think even that was, I had to be strategic at that young age because I knew I wanted to finish. right? I wanted to, be able to get this done. And I knew financially that was probably the best thing for me.
Wait, before you go forward, I have to ask why the news, a news anchor? What brought you, what led you to that?
To be honest, I don't know if I remember. I think a lot of it, so as a child, I did a lot of like theater, shows, things like that, whether it was rapping or performing, poetry, like all those kind of things. So I think that was a part of it.
Okay.
And so I was very, very serious about that. And I even did looked into, I knew that they may not get paid as some other careers, all the, and how you have to be. So what ended up happening is, um, that's what my bachelor's degree is in. I end up, my degree is in communications, television production.
Okay.
So
So even on the campus of Southern, you still had this dream, I want to be a news anchor, and you were studying it. Okay. And did you have an idea of where you wanted to go? Was it WTNH for you? Where did you want to land after you finished?
So that was one of the top. WTNH was like, maybe I could do my internship there.
Hmm.
I had a cousin who worked at 106 in Park, and so I had connected with him to see if, that was where I could do my internship. And so
And I'm gonna pause you right there, Tina, because I know there are some people listening. Like, what is 106 in Park? Because not everyone is from our time. So back during the 90s, BET had a music video show, a top 10 countdown. It was called 106 in Park. That was during our time of growing up. I don't even know if BET still has something like that, but you pursued a career doing that. Continue.
yes, thank you for
Because I know
reminding.
some people don't know.
You are so right. And so I wanted to be like they called them VJs back then.
Hmm.
Like, so much like what Wanda you're doing, but on the TV screen.
Hmm.
Um, and so my junior year at Southern, I was in a car accident. And it was a pretty bad car accident. And during that, I had over 100 stitches in my face. And
Mm.
one of my injuries was to my right wrist, and I'm right-handed. So I had like a cast up to my shoulder. I was just all broken up. So during that ordeal, because I was right-handed, I had to withdraw from school. I couldn't write. And there was no like assistance for me back then. Like,
Mm.
withdrawing was the last thing that I wanted to do. If you leave school, there's always a fear that you won't
You
go
won't.
back.
Exactly.
And so that was devastating for me. My junior year, I'm almost done, and then this happens. It was right off of Christmas break when I'm supposed to move back
Mm.
after the holidays. And because I couldn't go to school, I'm like, I got to stay busy. So that same high school job that turned to my college job, I was a dietary aide at a small 60-bed hospital, and I would deliver the trays and do all that kind of stuff. I couldn't do that because I have this cast on. So I called my boss and said, I need to come back to work. Can I do light duty? Can I do something? I need to get my mind off of what's going on, and the fact that I'm now scarred for life, like all these things. And when she found me some light duty, I was able to learn her job. She let me sit with her. She let me do her schedules, her menus, things like that. And I would do it with my left hand. So I couldn't use
Really?
my right hand at all. I would work the mouse with my left hand, and I learned leadership. I learned all of her administrative tasks. The other thing that happened to me when I was in the ambulance, right? So when I got hit, I was on my way to get my hair done. And so I had single braids in the back, and I only wanted the front of my hair redone.
Okay. Got you.
So I'm driving, and so the guy, he T-bones me. I had a hat on my head. He knocks the hat off my head. My face is cut, all that. So the ambulance comes, and he goes, "Where do you want to go?" I never knew you had the choice of where you
Yeah.
want to go. So I told him where I wanted to go. Back then it's St. Ray Fields or Yale.
Or yeah. Hmm.
And then I was like, am I scarred for life? And he said, yes. And I'm like, why would he tell me that? Like, the ambulance guy told me that. And then when they then I passed out. And then when they rolled me into the hospital, I touched my head and I was like, my hair. they're going to look at how I look, because now my hair, I had just washed the top of my hair. You got
Mm-hmm.
braids in the back, you got hair in the front. Will I be judged by how I look? Will they know I'm a college student? Will they take care of me the way I need to be taken care of? So
Mm.
all those things. So right then and there, I was like, oh my God. And so this patient experience thing, this healthcare thing just became full circle, because that's all the patient experience, the things our patients worry about, the fact
Yeah.
that they have a choice of where they want to go, but also the fact that you shouldn't be worried about what type of care you receive based on how you look or what
Yes.
insurance you have. And so the full circle for me, so back to the light duty, those all those experiences during this accident and then learning the job, a light bulb went off, and it was like, I knew I wanted a master's. Now I got my face cut. I don't know if I want to be on TV. I think I could do this leadership thing. And so I, right in that moment, was like, this is what I want my master's in. So I went back for healthcare administration.
Tina, you have to walk me through it because one, that must have been traumatic for you. Two, I have heard you say, am I scarred for life? That's one of the first questions you ask the ambulance driver. You're talking about your hair. You wanted to be on television. Now you're feeling like I have to switch careers because my face is scarred. Talk to me about what this did to you emotionally, because it's not just a physical rehab. It sounds like this scarred you emotionally because your appearance has now changed.
Yes, definitely. I was 20. So I'm like, before I turned 21, now you have this thing, right? And so on my face, there's over 100, there was over 100 stitches. They stopped counting at that. And
Mhm.
so they did an amazing job with stitching me up and all of that. But it was a big deal because there was a lot of injuries. It wasn't clean cuts and things like
Right.
that. And so I think emotionally, it definitely, in the moment when I had a very hard time looking at it, period.
Mhm.
So
Oh.
I would brush my teeth with the night light on in the bathroom. Like I didn't want the bright light because I was nervous about how bad it actually was. So
Mhm.
I would just keep the night light on so that I wouldn't like be impacted so much by that physical change now. But
Yeah.
it was, I had to keep it covered in the sun. So then it was like, okay, this is a thing now. So, again, this is the first few weeks after it happens. But then, shortly after, it was, how do you make some lemonade out of these lemons?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so, like, so the girl who was supposed to do my hair was like, can you come to my house now and braid the front of my hair? It was time to put some lipstick on. It was time to, that's why I called the job back. It was
Yeah.
time not to sit in it.
Yes.
Because if you sit in it, this is what you'll be. This is what you'll become. And so it was a switch. Like just after the few days after, it was like, okay. And so gradually I would look up in that mirror
Mm.
and embrace it. And my hair's now done. I'd put my lipstick on or whatever it was. And then now this is me. And so shortly after that, it became, this is my war story. This is now a part of my life. Now, I will tell you, there was a point in time where I was told by the surgeon who did it, you could get it fixed. And so years later, he said, you're still young, it's still healing. And so when I went years later to get it fixed and they said no, I was like, I don't, I didn't want my kids to see this. I wanted them to,
Oh.
I didn't want that to be there. I thought it would be fixed. And they said, no, in our skin, there's certain things that could happen and that it was safer to leave it alone.
Yeah.
And so that's what I had to do. I had to leave it alone and I had to embrace it. And so I'll be honest with you, I've been in nail salons where people were like, what happened to your face? Is it a burn? Is it? And I'm like, wow.
Mhm.
But
Bold.
I tell them, not bold, but I tell them, no, it's a car accident.
Yeah.
But I was surprised. I'll be very honest with you. When I look back, I surprised myself. That was my first test in life. Like, what you gonna do with this?
Mhm.
that was the first test, and I wouldn't be where I am today had that not happened. And so that scar is now like a beauty mark. I found my husband with my scar. Like, it didn't
Right.
stop me, right? Like,
And
and people don't even always notice it. I know it's there, but
you're, can I say that it, your confidence, I think you truly found that inward confidence because something shifted in your appearance, but that's not who you are. And you needed to know that about yourself. Because look at you now. Tina, as we can go on with this all day. All day. I'm telling you, I, because I know you personally, I'm touched by this story. And so let's move forward. Thank you for sharing that. You are working one. Let's talk about this. You had a job in high school. Wait, when did you start working?
16.
16. Did you do that because you needed to or because you just wanted to have your own money?
Both. So again, like, my mom was always there, but I knew I could have more if I worked for it, right? And I knew I could help her if I was able to contribute to those things. So because of the job, it was like senior year when you have class dues and yearbook fees and
Yeah.
prom dresses and all those things, I was able to have that. So yeah, it was, wherever it was McDonald's for a few days. I wasn't really good at that. And then and then it was Party City for the most part. Party City helped us with we've had auctions off of Party City and all kinds of great things off that job. Um,
Nice.
our senior year, a lot of our parties we put on um, was due to Party City. So that was probably a fun job. And then after that, I went to Whitney Center, and that's where I was during the accident and all of that. So Whitney Center, them taking a chance on me. So once I finished the masters, they gave me like a part-time management job, and then I worked my way up there.
Okay.
And so it was them who gave me a chance, and then that was enough experience to get into Yale.
Now, who the your supervisor that allowed you to do some of her work? Would you consider her to be one of your mentors that kind of
Oh,
shaped your life?
Oh, absolutely. Shout out to Lynn. I'm gonna just shout her out. She is and was a great mentor. She believed in me, and had she not said, "Let me see what I can have you do,"
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have learned what I've learned. And to be honest, she was more than just a mentor when it came to the professional career advice, but she also gave me a lot of advice about home ownership.
Mm.
And so it was her advice that helped me purchase a home at 22. Like, I was able to, so right after the accident,
That's what I was going to ask. How long
yeah,
after the accident? Okay.
yeah, so the accident happened when I was 20. And so, not long after, I was able to finish school on time because I did tell you guys I had to withdraw and all of that. And
So
so
how long were you out of school? How long was the break?
just one semester. And so what I
Okay.
ended up doing was I took summer classes. Like, so as fast as I could, I took summer classes at Gateway, so that I could get back on track to graduate on time. And because of that, I was able to walk with my peers. And it was like,
Amazing.
yeah, it was like it never happened. And so once I graduated from Southern, and then started the masters, all of that is when I purchased the townhouse. And so I've never rented. I went straight from my mom's house because I had to
Into
move
the
back home off of campus, right? Because
right.
I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
do anything. So I went back home for that year and then purchased my first property. And so it was, that mentor, Lynn, who would say, I would say, how much money do you need? And how could I do this? And she would teach me and tell me. And so I would listen, and just ask a lot of questions. And that's what I was able to do. And so after that, I said, okay, I want some more.
I know
So
that's right.
again, it was just me. Now, I'll be honest, no one in my entire family owns a home,
Ever owned. Mm-hmm.
and don't to this day in my
And,
immediate family.
but Tina, with Lynn, she broke that down for you. She told you all of the things you need to know about home ownership. And I honestly feel like some of our people, our elders, don't even know what it takes to own a home. I think they make it bigger than what it was because they didn't have the knowledge of what it took to get a home and become a homeowner. So it's wonderful that she sat you down and told you certain things that you didn't even know.
Exactly. I think to your point, a lot of times our, people in our community are afraid. It feels
Mm-hmm.
scary. And when you don't see it done a lot, it's even more scary. And
Right.
so I just, I think being in the environment I was in at that time, you said something in the beginning about relationships, and it's like important who you spend your time with. And so being
Absolutely.
with someone in that environment exposed me to, oh, this is what you do? How did you do that? Versus being with everyone who was the same as me or the
Mm.
same as my family. Because like I was the first, still the first driver's license. Like I had to borrow the neighbor's car to get a driver's license. I'm not even,
Wow.
yes, shout out to Miss Brown, rest in peace. We had no car in the family. Period. My mom never drove, was always afraid. So when we would go shopping, now she's a shopaholic. She made me a shopaholic. We would be on the bus looking for sweetheart ball dresses and on the bus on
Wow.
the post road and stuff like that. So soon as I was old enough to drive, it was like, oh no, I want to drive. So
Mm-hmm.
got my license. Like, so there was no one else to say within the family, how did you do this or whatever. I had to figure it out. The same with school, financial aid. I had to figure it out. What I'm gonna put on this paperwork so I can get this financial aid and make this happen.
Yeah.
Because like I said, my mom was great, but this wasn't her journey. These aren't things she did. And so yes, I'm the first to own a home, and and all those things. So it is scary. It's going to feel like it's difficult or unattainable, but I think I'm a great example that you can absolutely do it. You can absolutely have it. You just have to be comfortable asking questions and taking a risk.
That's what I was going to say. One, what I think you and I have in common is you are not afraid to ask a question. They used to tell us in school all the time there is no such thing as a stupid question, only the ones that you do not ask. Because if you don't ask, how are you going to know? And during the time of now, you have YouTube University. Anything you want to know, you can ask YouTube. Before YouTube, you had to actually communicate with someone that knew what you did not know.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
you have been, if you don't know, because I've just been gabbing with her. Tina Bennett is who I am speaking to right now. She is the Chief Experience Officer at Yale New Haven Health. And after you graduated with your undergrad degree, you went back for your master's, and your master's is in health
Healthcare
administration.
administration, public administration. So the reason I did that is because I knew healthcare was where I wanted to be, but that public piece, teaching,
Mm,
the public sector, the community. So I was torn about that. So I would ask. So we talked a little bit about mentors. I had mentors back then. I would talk to my mentors about, should I go for healthcare or public administration? Do I do an MBA? Like, what's going to get me where I need to go? And what I had to do was figure it out. Like, at the end of this, who do you want to be?
mm,
And so, I'm so glad, even looking back now today, that was the right move. It wasn't, I didn't want just the paper, right? I didn't just want this certificate. I wanted it to really help me in my career. And so, the public administration piece really helps me now because now I get to teach part time. So I've been doing that as well. And I get to teach patient centered healthcare to
at
students at
Southern.
Southern, where I graduated from.
Yes.
Yes. And I get to be a cool professor and design the curriculum. It's so funny. Like when they Professor Bennett, I'm like, it's funny even hearing people say that. Like, what? Um,
That's
but
awesome.
it's exciting because you get to make the class fun and be whatever you know you needed when you were there. So yeah, it's exciting.
So obviously you had a plan, you saw it through. Do you still have a plan? What's the plan now for Tina Bennett moving forward?
Wow. I think my plan has changed slightly in that it was more detailed back then, right? It
Mhm.
was like, I got to get to a director and I'm going to follow these steps. Um, I have to share that a lot of times you guys hear that there's like a formula to do these things. And I
Yeah.
have to say that it really is. And so, like, I did a lot of what people said to get where I need to go. Like, so, you know how people say, well, you should be on committees and so people get to know
Know
you, get
you.
to know
Uh-huh.
mentors.
Networking. Yep.
I
Mhm.
did all those things. Like, so it was
Mhm.
like, okay, check, I'm gonna do that, I'm a volunteer, so I followed those steps and so even when the accident came, I had to shift my plan But then even that, like, I know I'm all over the place. So the after I bought the first house, I ended up buying two more houses. So I had three by the time I was 25. I'm like, how do
Wow.
these people give me? I had multifamilies. There was two multifamilies. And so even then, when I would show the places, because the houses were in our community, I would pretend that I was just showing it. I wouldn't tell the people
Then
that I
that you
owned
owned
it.
it.
Yes, I didn't want, so even that. And so
Why? Why did you make that decision?
because in our community, unfortunately, that's not always embraced,
Mm-hmm.
number one. And so, in order to get the right people in there, I wanted to be able to vet from behind the scenes. Like, I wanted you to see, I didn't want you to know it was me, little old, young old me from this community,
Yeah.
because I needed them to know it was real and I needed to have the best tenants possible. But that was important and strategic because people tend to treat you differently based on who you are and where you're from and things like that. So I had to think about that.
Say that, Tina. Say that. Now, do you own? Do you still have these properties, all three?
So I still have two.
Okay.
I sold the other. It's a lot of work. And so this was pre-marriage, and so
Mm-hmm.
you're doing all this as a single woman, and sometimes the sound of the ringtone on the phone would drive me crazy because I was doing all of that and building this career.
Yeah, you're a landlord. That's a big
Yeah,
responsibility.
it's
Mm-hmm.
a big responsibility, but it is very helpful for the future when you want to be able to have something, and have an asset. It is extremely helpful to do that. And I would also say it helped me with my leadership skills as well. Making sure your documentation and your leases and doing things the right way and by the
Yeah.
book and all that. So yeah, it's good stuff. Like, so if anybody has the, appetite for it, I think it's absolutely something to do, because it's something you can leave to your children.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
financial growth.
before we go to your children, there's so many. I feel like the time slot is just not enough for this conversation, but I'm going to make the best of it with what I have. You spoke about the formula. People tell you to join the committees, get on the committees, and surround yourself with these people, let them know you, let them network. If someone were to ask you what you were asking them, would you give them the same advice or what would you alter?
I do it almost every day.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important, especially in our community, like, to pay it forward.
Hmm.
And, I always say, like, be the change you want to see. And so when anyone wants to know, a lot of times I will volunteer the information. However, I think it's sometimes best
Hmm.
for me to wait for somebody to ask, but I'm always willing to share how you do it, where to go, how to get more information. Like, so for example, when I did it, I didn't know that there's first time home buyer programs that I could have
Right.
benefited from. Or when you purchase in New Haven, they'll help with down payments and, things like that. Those are things I learned after, and I couldn't use those different things. And so I absolutely share the information. I do mock interviews. I've given and helped so many people have jobs, who to this day have taken it and just elevated it to the next level and make me so proud. I
Nice.
am never that person that's like, who are you? I don't have time. Because I was that girl who needed someone. I needed someone to take a chance on me or not be too good or not hold tight on their information. Like,
Yeah.
that's how we grow our community, by sharing information. That's really it, and helping
Hmm.
each other. That's
Knowledge,
all it really is.
absolutely. And it's unfortunate that sometimes we do carry that trait within us that we only want to tell who we want to tell, and you keep so much information. That's what keeps a lot of us back. One, you don't want to ask, and then two, you don't want to tell and share that information. But we have Tina in a position that she's sharing it all, she's teaching it all. I asked you the plan going forward, and then we shifted to
Sorry,
something
thank you for
different.
bringing me back. So the plan going forward is really to focus on the balance of family,
Hmm.
and ensuring that my children are the best two little people that they could possibly be. And so I
Nice.
think that is so important. I want to be an example for them, and to be very thoughtful in what I expose them to and the life that they have. And so
Yeah.
that is the plan going forward. The plan is to figure out how to balance it all. And to now that I am where I kind of want to be, like I'm in a place where it's like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm good. I'm not chasing anything. I'm good.
Nice.
When
Nice.
things come, I'm always open and willing, and I want to continue to grow. So I'm not done. Look out. Um, but I think it's also very important to be present for my family and my children because time goes by so fast.
Yeah, it does. What would you say? How has being a wife and being a mother shifted and changed Tina?
It gives you purpose.
Yeah, it does.
It really does. So it makes what you get up and do every day mean something. And I'll be very honest, that wasn't a part of the plan. So I wasn't
Talk that talk, Tina.
so I wasn't like one of those who was like, I'm gonna have two kids and a husband and a daughter. Like that wasn't me. My career was what I thought I wanted and needed, and that was kind of it. Whatever
Mm-hmm.
else happened was gonna be the bonus. And so that's how I thought of it. And then it was like, after getting married and finding somewhere, it's like, okay, I could do this. Like you're a good teammate to partner with and do this. Then it was like, all right, I feel comfortable being able to have people I'm responsible for because that's not easy. And I
It's
know you
not.
know that. And
Mm-hmm.
so I took that very seriously. So I was very thoughtful about and very intentional about, okay, all right, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna be a mom, and this is what I wanted. So we were able to travel, and I was able to do all those things that I kind of wanted to do. So that now children, it's like, no, we traveling with you. We had fun with
Yeah.
those kind of things. But so I did have a plan once I had a plan, about the children and the family. It ended up being a plan to now expose them to as much as we possibly can and give them opportunities and experiences. So even for like holidays and things like that, it's like we're aware of how many things you're gonna get versus an experience. Like let me just
Yes. It's more
experience
memorable when you do it
it.
that way.
Exactly, exactly. So it really changed me in so many ways. But I think the other thing that it taught me, being a mom and a wife, is that we can. And I didn't see that a lot. And so I remember saying that in the beginning, like, we'll do it our way. We'll make it like because it's scary when you don't have no roadmap or nothing to pull
Mm-hmm.
out and say, do this like this. And so we had to kind of figure it out because like I told you, it was just my mom and so um yeah, we without instruction, you figure it out, right? And
Without instruction, you
you
figure it
yes,
out.
you figure it out and you have to give yourself grace. I try to say that more often than I use that, but so meaning you do try to do it all. I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people think they need to be it all and do it all. And there are times when I do that. But then I also have to prioritize what matters most. And so balance, because
Yeah.
sometimes you can't be it all, right? So, but what I do is try to just give it my all. So, not to slack in anything, just try to make sure that, I am um, giving it my best shot, and I think that that's the key. One of the things that I got a chance to go to Beyonce's show, and like when she does flaws and all, everyone is like, "Oh my God!" And like she taps under her
I
arms,
mean,
they
yeah.
slap under her arms and stuff like that. And I think we tend to look at people and think they're robots or superhuman, and they're not.
They're not.
They're real with real thing, like Beyonce can't cook. I could cook, by the way. But but stuff like that. Like everyone's not perfect at everything. So knowing that and understanding that, like I'm a person who like stay in my lane. Like, okay, I cook the things I know I could put my foot in, not literally, but cook the things I know I'm
We
great
know that saying now, Tina. We know that one.
but yeah, like just trying to, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna give my best at it. That's it.
Nice. And yeah, you've been giving it your best. Again, I've known you personally for too long, high school and whatnot, and I've always seen you put your best foot forward. I paid attention to who you surround yourself with, who you align yourself with, even to this day. Like you said, you have friendships that have lasted years, years and years and years. And that I've always admired that about you. Tina, you've always been a leader. You're a leader, you're a teacher, well, professor, you're a mom, and you're working in this healthcare field. Which one is more rewarding, and what is the most rewarding part about where you are in life right now?
Wow, that is an amazing question. I can't listen. I think so. Being a mom is the most rewarding because when you see your children, learn and you're able to help them grow into these people that's going to hopefully change the world.
Yeah.
Like that is just so powerful to see that, to take the time to have those conversations. I always call them like Cosby Show conversations. You know how when you like I explain everything, the reason why I'm saying this or why you can't do that, or they need to understand why. That's how we retain information. Like if you just say don't do that, I might just do it because you said no.
How old are your children?
So my children are 11 and 6.
Because I over my son is 14, and when I try to have those moments where I'm gonna break it down, it's like, oh my God, here we go again with your explanation. But you got to hear it. You have to hear it.
You got to, because the statements with just the statements don't mean nothing. So they got to know the why. It's like, it's just, so even when you think of work and how you train people or change the culture, the why is
Yeah.
everything. You got to tell people the reason. So I would have to say that the children, and then a very close second is what I do every day. Like being able to be a part of this large organization in the city that raised like
Yeah.
is next level. To be able to advocate for people who look like me, my mom, talk about social, disparities and, social determinants and the things that impact healthcare. I am able to be a voice for all of these people in our community. I get to be the change. Like, so if there were things that I was worried about when I was 20 in that car accident, worried about my hair, I get to be a part of that discussion to create policies and strategies to help change that.
Yeah.
So that's powerful as well when you get to see it shift the culture or see a change in results. It's
And to just be there. I don't want to answer the question for you, but to come from where you come from and to be in the position at the level that you have obtained, that is remarkable. You don't see a lot of women from the inner city. I'm going to watch my words, from the inner city, that look like us, brown, melanated women holding these positions and these titles. So that must be amazing for you as well. And if it's not, allow me to tell you, it's amazing.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I think a lot of times you're just in it and you just feel like this is what you're supposed to do.
There you go.
It's not,
Purpose.
yeah, it's not often that you sit back like, wow, you did accomplish a lot. And I think that's us in general a lot of times too. Like we just keep going and going and going and don't take a moment to absorb the impact. I'll share one time I thought about it. So when I probably like 10 years ago, I became the director of patient transport at Yale. And it made it to the inner city news. And so my mom went to every corner store possible and got all their new inner city newspapers. And it said, Hill House graduate from New Haven leads patient transport at Yale, New Haven. And
Oh my
I was
goodness.
so proud that it was in those corner stores that I go in,
Used to go.
right?
Yep.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
yes. And so that was the moment where it was like, okay, now, like this is something, this means something. And I think even the Hill, they put Hill House. It was like, and I think it's important for people to know that you can go to Hill House, you can be from Hill House and achieve great things. And so again, like you started off saying, it's who you surround yourself with, what you do with the education, like all those things. But I think people tend to think you have to go to a private school or you have to be in a suburban area. Those things help at times, but that isn't it. And I think I'm an example of that. It doesn't always matter where you are.
It matters who you are. It
Hmm.
starts with you. And then when you decide who you are, you will surround yourself with the right people. You will ask the right questions and everything will fall in order. But it does start with who you choose to be and who you want to be and what you want for yourself. And obviously, sitting in this chair right now, Miss Boss Tina, you already proved that. I'm going to keep bragging. I told you, I know people in high places that came from Hill House. We went to the same school, same graduating class. It makes me happy. It makes me very, very proud. And if no one has said it from our class, I'm very proud of you.
Well, thank you so much. That means a lot. It really does.
We've been talking for 50 minutes. They only give me 45.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
But this was a great conversation. Tina, if anyone has any questions for you about what you do, about the class that you teach, how can people reach you? What's a good contact email or something for someone to contact you?
Find me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn under Tina Bennett. I think that's the best and easiest way to
Okay.
contact me.
Okay. Bennett as you're listening. And then, of course, per usual, once this airs, you can always find the video on YouTube. I will share it there and also on Facebook. Tina, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I wish you nothing but success in your future. I know it's going to continue to happen for you. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me again. Take care.